going through, I find it in this crazy old world. Need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I've got strategies. I got strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab.
You already know we need them. Yeah, we all know we need them. We need those strategies, don't we? Those strategies for living. So are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I see you've come to the couch today.
Yeah, well, the couch is a good place for all of us to go.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
I think we all, of course, obviously we're biased.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. But, I think every one of us can benefit from going to therapy, going to counseling, going to life coaching. Do it any way you want to do it. But,
some form of sitting down and having a chance to really be with yourself and look at yourself and process what it is you're creating.
Absolutely. And, I think it's possible. And of course, we're biased about doing that with somebody trained.
Sure.
But
there's tons of ways to do that.
But there are a ton of ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that you may have in your life a wise mentor who is not a counselor or a therapist or a life coach, but that person may be a catalyst for you to grow and to hear yourself back.
And it may not be found in a single person, right?
True.
It also may be found in several people if you allow yourself to use others as a mirror in that way.
Absolutely. So what we're going to try to do today is, if you're not in therapy, because a lot of people aren't,
right, and
that's okay. But if you're not in therapy, at least you need to know some things.
A few things, yeah.
A few things. Yeah. And so we're not that this list will
we're like the Lucy booth, giving away free advice.
Well, there you go. I like it.
Not really advice, but free therapy.
Yeah,
so
well, Lucy wasn't free.
Oh.
I mean, when she started in the psychiatric booth, it was 5 cents, and then it got raised to $0.25. So
okay, well, so we're cheaper than Lucy. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you being a part of Strategies for Living, and we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible: the Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing. Now, I could say the Balanced Life Wellness Center.
You could.
I could.
But I think she'd prefer you to use Restore Healing.
That's right. Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Muffy, SRT, Sales Training, Uprising, Addiction Center, and Mira, Direct Primary Care. If you're not in therapy, there's some things you at least need to know. We're talking about them today here on Strategies for Living. Come back with us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem drab. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. Glad you're here. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, I guess, I just realized we didn't really introduce ourselves
We just
during
started
the
talking.
introduction. So
Yeah.
I'm Dr. David McMillian. She's psychotherapist, LPC, Lauren Leon McMillian. I guess I got too wrapped up in the going to therapy thing.
Well, it happens.
It does. It does.
And that's often why we go to therapy, is when we get too wrapped up in ourselves, right?
A good point. Very good point. So, but today we want to focus on, if you're not going to therapy, you need to at least know some things. So one of the first things that you need to know is that you can be high functioning and still deeply struggling.
Absolutely.
Because, there were some people would say, well, you just don't know my struggle. If you knew my struggles, okay, well, a lot of people struggle. In fact, I could go back in history. A lot has been written about, let's say Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
thinking also Benjamin Franklin.
And Benjamin
was
Franklin.
pretty well
I don't
known
think
for this dynamic.
I don't think you could argue that either of those gentlemen were strugglers. They struggled with a lot of different things in life.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also don't think that you could argue that either of those gentlemen was not high functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be high functioning and still struggling.
Yeah. Well, and I think this can pass pretty easily, because high achievers are often going to receive praise, right? For the coping mechanisms that are actually stress responses, right? Which can be confusing for the person who is doing it. Again, it's that mismatch of, the society, I'm doing all the things, I appear successful from the outside, but underneath, there's a lot of anxiety, perfectionism, overworking, and people pleasing.
So hold your head up. Even though you're struggling, you may still be very high functioning.
Right.
Childhood patterns. Well, childhood patterns are going to follow you.
Yep.
Until, there's something that you can do about childhood patterns. You can face them. When you face them, then you have a chance to move past them.
Yeah.
You have a chance to transcend them. But until you face the patterns that you established in childhood, and these include all of the messages that we took in the first 7 to 10 years of life that we never questioned. Through the years that I practiced therapy, it sometimes would astound me when someone who was, let's just say over 50, okay? Mm-hmm. Just to pick an age.
Yeah.
It would astound me the number of people over 50 coming into therapy that still had not questioned or processed some of the things they were taught in the first 7 years of their life, 7 to 10 years of their life. And sometimes it was so blatantly obvious to someone like me who was listening to them that, wow, this is really messing things up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is interesting because this is something my guides have been talking with me recently about.
Yeah.
And they've actually quoted, the idea of Jesus saying, "Let the children come to me."
Yeah.
Let the little children come to me. And one of the things my guides suggested was, isn't it beautiful, isn't it elegant that every day your children, your inner children, come to you so often?
Yes.
And you have the choice. You have the choice to say, come to me and let me hear what you have to say and bring you into the fold of who I am. Or we can allow the children to run the show, which a lot of us do, right? And I think that in a lot of ways is one of our tasks in life, is to let the children come to us, to see them. And what I mean by the children come to us throughout the day is anytime that you are triggered or you react in a way that you is not an adult reaction, right?
Yeah.
That's a younger version of you. That's a child coming to you and asking for attention.
I know I'm a little bit biased, but damn, Lauren, that's profound.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it really is. And I mean, honestly, how many times in my life, in my 69 years so far, have I heard it quoted in church? Jesus says, "Let the children come to me." But
what does that mean?
I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't really either until, it came through one morning.
Yeah.
And it's insightful, and it really has made me. And one of the other things that they've mentioned to me recently is to see that not only in ourselves, but in other people, right?
Yeah.
To see the children within ourselves and within each other, and to respond, not from a condoning way, but from a way that you would approach a child as a mother, and not in a way of a commanding or demanding mother, but just a nurturing and understanding place.
Absolutely.
Of what is it that this child needs from me? Can I give it to them? And if not, how can I help them get it themselves?
Right. We often hear the B word when we talk therapeutically, right?
Yeah, boundaries or balance.
Well, it could be both, but I'm focusing right now on boundaries.
Okay.
And one of the things that we need to understand, and hopefully if you're in therapy, your therapist has said this or is teaching this, but boundaries are for peace. Boundaries are not for punishment.
And one of my favorite reframes here too is actually that boundaries are for connection.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. But if we set boundaries, they allow and aid connection. You're absolutely right.
I mean, as paradoxical as that sounds, that is more often than not the case. And we're often scared of boundaries because they weren't modeled properly for us.
Right.
I mean, and that's no fault of our parents.
No, because they didn't get a model properly for them.
The concept just wasn't discussed or made aware of, right?
Yeah.
So... And even before that, we were so focused on survival, and other people may be so focused on survival, we didn't pay attention to the way that we interacted with each other.
Right. Some people shut down.
Sure.
And your whole nervous system just shuts down. Okay, so one of the things that you need to understand, especially if you're not working in therapy, shutting down is a nervous system response. It is not a personality flaw.
Yes. I mean, freeze is just as real as fight or flight.
Absolutely.
And I would also put into this line, fawn is just as real as fight or flight.
Right.
Or freeze. But so sometimes your brain gets so overwhelmed that silence is going to be the safest option. You might have learned that early on or at some point. But understanding that it's not a personality flaw, that it is a function of your neurobiology, your physiology, maybe hopefully can create some compassion, right? And
hopefully self-compassion.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, you say, oh, I'm shutting down, so I need to go regulate.
This is a signal that I need to take some kind of action.
When you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you cannot access your prefrontal cortex. You cannot make rational decisions from a place of adult logic and thinking. And so you need to get yourself, your nervous system regulated, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's different for everyone.
This one is especially for men. It's for men and women, but especially for men because men are taught, be strong, Well, being strong can sometimes mean simply that you've never learned to be supported.
No, I see this one a lot in women too, actually. And it shows up.
I agree.
It shows up as the hyper independence.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it kind of makes me think sort of along the lines of like the First Wives Club sort of idea, like where you just become so hyper independent.
Yeah.
so that you quote unquote can't be hurt again.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people can become so fiercely independent because other people felt unsafe. And so actually it's about being able to lean in and recognize I don't feel safe being vulnerable. And so how can I begin to practice softening those edges? Because, and I think you're right, it especially shows up in men because this is more of a masculine quality, right? And so even for females who begin to take on the hyper independence, it's about leaning into that feminine quality of softness and reception and vulnerability.
Definitely.
And receiving.
I'm thinking back to an old Barbra Streisand song.
Yeah?
People who need people are the luckiest people in the world.
Yeah.
But I would scratch out luckiest and pencil in wisest.
The wisest and the strongest because we're better together and we need each other.
Absolutely. And we are meant, we are built, we are created to be relationship people.
Right.
And if we've got something lacking in that area, that arena, then that's something that we need to pay attention to and work on, because not everybody's in therapy. And if you're not in therapy, we're talking about some things that you still need to know, you still need to understand, you still need to embrace. We're talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. We've got more. Imagine that. We'll be right back.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. If you're not in therapy, you at least need to know these things. Maybe we all need to be in therapy, but obviously we can't be. There's probably not enough therapists out there and life coaches and other people trained to deal with everybody that needs to be there. But there's some things that we still need to know and understand. We're talking about those today here on Strategies for Living. So sometimes, people say, I feel nothing. I'm blank. I feel nothing. Well, you know what?
Numb.
Yeah, I'm numb.
Yeah.
And I would say that is still a feeling worth your attention.
Yeah, I think most often feeling numb is actually a protection of overfeeling, right? Or a protection from feeling something else,
some type of
something
overload.
that's underneath.
Yeah.
And that's why I really think a place like therapy can be so sacred and transformative, because part of the experience is to hold a space where you can say, I feel nothing, and then we can do some digging safely.
You can talk
in
about
a safe
it.
environment.
You can examine it.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I get that you feel numb, but often that's a protection. So can we thank the numbness for protecting you and see what it's protecting you from?
There you go.
Knowing that we can explore it safely in here.
Very, very good. Conflict. A lot of people want to avoid conflict.
Yep.
And a lot of people probably listening to us right now would do anything to avoid conflict. We need to understand something. Avoiding conflict is often how you grow conflict.
And I would argue you cannot actually avoid conflict. It's impossible.
Yeah, but we tell ourselves we
well,
can.
And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is if you avoid conflict with another person, you bring it within yourself.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you're just shifting it.
You're shifting it. You're moving it from, okay, this
point A to point B, but you're not getting rid of it.
Right. Well, and you are giving away your power, actually. Right. Because if you were to bring up the point of conflict within the relationship, there's something, there's a possibility of growth and development, both individually and together, right? Whereas if you say, and I know a lot of us grew up doing this, well, I'm just going to hold my tongue to, quote unquote, keep the peace.
Keep the peace, yeah.
Well, I would say you may keep the peace, there may be a performance of keeping the peace within the group, but if you're not at peace within yourself, they're going to sense that too.
Absolutely.
On some level.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, all of these that we've talked about so far are important. But you know how I play with asterisks, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything to that.
I get off my asterisk. Yeah.
Yeah. I do know you like to play with asterisks.
I'm not touching that.
Okay, I'm not touching that one either.
But the next couple that we're going to talk about, I'm going to asterisk.
Okay, let's just get to it. What's important to you?
Okay, I'm just going to ignore you and dive in. What you don't express will eventually express itself in your life.
Yep.
How many times do we see that trying to shove something down that is hard to swallow or hard to face in your life or hard to process in your life comes back and expresses itself? Oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes it comes up in a physical symptom of some kind.
Absolutely.
I love Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Yourself.
Yeah.
It's older.
Well, and there have been additions in terms of other people have come along and built off of her work, but she was foundational. Absolutely. In making that distinction.
And so what we need to understand is that we're relationship people, and that includes foremost and up front a relationship with ourselves.
With our bodies, and with our minds.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with our souls, with our spirits.
Yeah.
And when we refuse to express what is inside of us, it's gonna come out. The only question is, okay, am I gonna get a cold or am I gonna get cancer? Or am I gonna get depressed, or am I, there's a lot of things that it can be. I'm not saying that it's always going to express itself in physical, in some kind of physical illness. Although often, I do think it often does.
And it often does, I think, because we are society trained to ignore the initial energy.
Yeah.
We are so desensitized, though I think this is rapidly changing.
Hope so.
Yeah. As a culture and a society, we had attempted to separate ourselves, make ourselves separate, and desensitize ourselves to the energy realm, if I want to call it that, right? Which is just the flow of energy.
You just did. You just called it.
Yeah, the flow of energy through us, which appears as, it first just appears very, just not very obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so it's we've got to be able to train ourselves at different thresholds to recognize, and once it gets to the physical level, especially then ask, what is this? What message do I need to receive through this physical expression?
Which leads me right to the next asterisk, double asterisk that I would present to us. Overthinking. Overthinking is abundant in the world and in our lives. Overthinking is often under processing.
Yeah.
Now, let's unpack this one.
Yeah, because this is a good one, but it is something to unpack, right?
Because people say, well, are you saying that, we're supposed to think?
I'm processing through my thinking, right?
Yeah.
You may think that.
Yeah, but are you just thinking?
Are you just looping?
Are you just looping?
Again,
is it just thinking for the sake of thinking? I mean, there needs to be a balance between your thoughts because, we are not our thoughts.
No. But
our thoughts are us.
We're such a head-driven society, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where when I first began my journey of I'm really interested in, I didn't really know the term for it yet, but like behavior and mind and how we work and what this all means to be a human, I went immediately to neuroscience because like our society sort of lies the line for is, our mind is our brain.
Yeah.
And, quickly then I learned and I recognized this is really interesting and I appreciate all of my studies and understanding
but it's just one
of the
piece.
brain, but it's just one piece. And there's so much more. And
it's interesting when you realized that and then tried to share it with some of the people that were around you, you couldn't find anybody that would buy into it. You couldn't really find anybody that understood what you were saying.
Yep.
And
so true. But that again, I think is depictive of the inculcation of our society.
There you go.
As a very head-heavy society.
Yeah.
And what we're learning through research is actually how powerful the heart is.
Yes.
Right? And how powerful the connectedness of the body is, that there are neurons, there are brain cells in the heart.
Yep.
Right? There are brain cells in the stomach.
Might be more, heart brain cells than head brain cells.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Emotional safety. We all want to feel safe, but emotional safety isn't comfortable at first. Mm-hmm. And that's just, I think back, through the years of, how many people were brave enough to come to therapy. And thankfully, some of them chose to come to me. And, that's hard. Mm. That's hard to go into a situation where you're vulnerable.
Right.
And where emotional safety is, should be a given. But it's not comfortable.
Right. Well,
it's
because
hard.
they were never modeled. And if you grow up in chaos or an unsafe environment, that's tied with what's familiar and what I know.
Yep.
Right? And so even when you enter into something extremely healthy and extremely safe emotionally, that can feel unfamiliar and therefore frightening.
I remember years ago, this is maybe the first year of my practice, I had this little lady come in, and she was like a school marm, right? And so the very first session, she said to me some variation of, "Don't you bring
about my mother?
Don't you bring up my mother?" And so I just kind of chuckled, and we went on. It took a few sessions, but she finally said, okay, let's talk about my mother. And once we did, there was a breakthrough.
Right.
And she, there was, where there had been a heaviness, there became a lightness. Mm-hmm. Where there had been dour, there became smiles. Mm-hmm. And, so... Again,
the elegance of therapy and creating that safe environment at play, right?
Yeah. So maybe Dr. Freud was onto something.
Well, he was onto a lot of things.
Maybe it is about my mother.
Well,
oh, Weta, if you're listening, you were great.
I'm thankful for her.
Yeah, there you go. If you're not in therapy, we're talking about some things that you still need to understand. You still need to know. And we're discussing it, talking about it here today on strategies for living. Lauren and I'll be right back. Hope you'll come back with us.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
Don't you talk about my mother. Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren McMillian. I'm not going to talk about your mother. She's my mother-in-law. And it's not safe.
She's Sicilian.
Yeah. Well, they gave me a T-shirt.
Yeah.
That said, I'm not scared. I'm married to a Sicilian woman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And in fact, your father was in that shirt yesterday, I think.
Yeah, when we...
So we're talking today about, we're not all in therapy. Maybe we need to be. Maybe that would be a great idea, but we're not. We're not all in therapy. We're not going to a life coach. But there's still some things that we need to understand. And we're talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. The next one that I'm going to bring up is that you don't need to know what's wrong prior to asking for help. It's okay just to go and say, I need some help here. Well, what do you need help with? I don't know. Okay, well, that's where we start.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I mean, especially if you are entering into therapy with this, and I'd encourage you to do so because I think many people avoid going if they can't articulate exactly what it is.
Sometimes good therapy, good life coaching will help you to define and narrow down, okay, here's what needs to be worked on.
I think that's an important and large part of therapy for people is that sort of education piece, if you will, of discovering concepts and language and to describe what it is that we're experiencing.
One of the things that I do, and I love to do it, is hypnotherapy. And using hypnosis, which is not the only way that, I have of contacting the subconscious mind.
No.
But it's one that a lot of people understand, a lot of people think they know something about. But the interesting thing about doing hypnotherapy is that oftentimes someone will come to hypnotherapy and want hypnosis for a specific problem. Let's pick on a couple that it's known for, losing weight or stopping some habit like smoking. Oftentimes when someone does that, what comes up is very, it's a very clear, you need to work here, you need to work on this, and you need to work on that. Your subconscious mind and probably your higher self connected to that will deliver to you elegantly the things that you probably need to work with.
Right. Well, and the key there is finding some method, whether it's hypnotherapy or otherwise, to allow the ego, the conscious mind, to step aside.
Yeah.
So that you can speak with the subconscious
got to give it room.
The superconscious.
Yeah, you got to give it room. And when you say, a lot of people understand the conscious mind, they understand the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, but you just used the term superconscious mind. Not everybody is going to know what that is.
Right.
When you talk about the superconscious, you're talking about what Jung talked about as the collective unconscious.
Right.
Some people would even name that the universe or universal knowledge or God.
Yeah. Or the Holy Spirit.
There's a lot of names.
Your higher self.
Yep.
And I think the names kind of
the labels, don't really matter.
Don't really matter,
nope.
and they may even depict layers of the superconscious.
Yep.
Right.
Healing requires honesty that you can't fake.
Whew.
If you want to heal, okay, you're probably getting an asterisk out here. If you've got something that is stumping you, if you've got something that is in the way, one of the first things you have to do is be honest with yourself.
Yep.
You know, I used to love to watch when I could. I didn't get a chance to watch it often. But Dr. Phil, for years, was I think it was wonderful that he did a daily program and spent the energy and time, and he did a good job.
I should have known something when I enjoyed watching that after school as a kid. Absolutely. That should have told me something.
One of the things that Dr. Phil would say over and over and over, and I'm sure it's not original to him.
You can't heal what you don't acknowledge.
You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And so you just have to be honest. Healing requires honesty that can't be faked. Not everybody who hurt you meant to. The impact still matters.
Right.
But not everybody who hurt you meant to. So many times, we
get so obsessed with the quote unquote forgiveness piece being a revenge or needing the other person.
Yeah. When oftentimes the people that hurt us
they don't even
are
know.
themselves deeply flawed and deeply in need of doing what you're doing now, which is taking a look at life and maybe in counseling or therapy or whatever.
I love the analogy of it's like being bit by a snake and then running after the snake to catch him rather than tending to your wound.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. You know, I mean, you can't change. And if you go and grab the snake, he's likely to bite you again before you've healed the wound. So many of us do.
Yeah.
And so it's about recognizing that how can I tend to my own wound? Because once you do that, you won't be hurt as much.
We're running out of time. I want to get one more in.
All right.
A lot of times people throw out, well, love heals. Well, you know what? Love doesn't heal trauma. Love doesn't heal all trauma. What does heal trauma is skills. If you have trauma, I'm talking about little t trauma, which most of us have, or big T trauma, something big happened back when, and you're still stuck on it all these years later. Go get help. There's a lot of help. There's more help to process and deal with trauma today than there ever has been. It's one thing in the last couple of decades that psychology has done right and done well, and is still doing. Is still
continuing to develop.
Absolutely,
and understand better.
There's a book out there. It's not too old. Basil Vanderkirk. The body keeps the score. And if you're experiencing any kind of trauma, that might be a very, very good book
starting point
to dive in. And he does a good job with it. So we're talking today about even if we're not in therapy, even if we're not in counseling, there's still some things we need to know. And, you know, we could go on and maybe we'll do some more of this.
Sure, we could go on with this for sure.
And if you missed some of these and you want to go back, know that we're in podcast. Go to where you get your favorite podcast, put in Strategies for Living, subscribe to us. You don't ever have to miss a program, and you got built-in notes. Back in a moment with more Strategies for Living. When she gets out her guitar, I know we're towards the end.
I wish I could play like
Kenny Wayne, watch out. Lauren's after you. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, talking today about, we're not all in therapy, but there's still some things that we need to understand, still some things that we need to know. What's your takeaway from what we've discussed and talked about today. I still love Jesus saying, "Bring the little children, have the little children come."
Like
the
that
take on that, I love that idea. Love it.
That of seeing where our own children come to us, and are you letting them come to you?
Yeah. So what's the takeaway?
Well, I think that is a good takeaway. But another, I guess, running theme throughout all of these is compassionate curiosity, right? Coming towards yourself and coming to understand yourself from a place of I can hold more than one thing at once, more than two things, more than a few things at once. They can all be true at once.
Yep.
And what does this mean? Where did this come from? Just being curious and from a non-judgmental, compassionate place. That's how we understand ourselves and the world better.
I vote for the wisest stance that any of us could make is to remain throughout life a curious student.
And that's the way to approach our own children, right?
There you go. Lauren, thank you. Folks, thank you. We appreciate you being a part of Strategies for Living. We appreciate our sponsors who make that all possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing. I would say the Balanced Life Wellness Center, but it is now Restore Wellness. Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Muffy. SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.